Hello and welcome to Lesson 11, page 94. This is the song titled Indian Campfires in our Level 1 book. In this song reviews the notes C, D, F, and G on the treble staff. And students, I just want to give you a little hint at what's to come. In about 4 songs, we're going to do our first song that has finger numbers written on the music. And what finger numbers are, well, they're numbers underneath our notes on the staff that tell us which finger plays which note on the piano. And they're not in this song, but this is a song when I start encouraging all the students in my classes to use what we call 5-finger patterns with their right hand. And what's a 5-finger pattern? Well, it means we're going to use all 5 fingers to play the notes in this song. So we need the notes C, D, F, and G. And to cover them, we're actually going to cover the notes C, D, E, F, and G because we've got 5 fingers in our right hand, and we're going to put 1 finger on each of the keys on the piano. So if you want more information about how we place our hands on the piano in a 5-finger pattern and our finger numbers, there's other videos posted in this course as well that review those items, okay? But just some quick reminders: we play with the side of our thumb for when we use our thumb, and you want to aim to use your fingertips on your other fingers. Now, if this is your first time ever doing this, I totally get it. It might feel a little bit strange to use some of these fingers we're not used to using, but I promise you, with some practice and as you try it, it will only get easier as you do it every day. Okay, so one way you can practice is just going up the keys one at a time, just like this. And maybe if there's a finger that feels really strange, you can try it all over and over again. Your ring finger, or what we call finger number 4, that one can feel a little bit weird to play for the first time. Or your pinky, or finger number 5, that one can feel weird too. So maybe practice going back and forth until you're comfortable enough to go up and down the keys with those fingers, because that's what we're going to be doing in our song Indian Campfires. Because remember, this is a song that uses the treble clef, and remember, the treble clef means that we have to use our right hand, and we're getting to the point where we almost have 5 notes, but there's only 4 in this song, but 4 notes in one hand. So we're forced to use more fingers in one hand for this song. So again, try it very slowly and you'll get it in no time. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the other symbols in our song. We also have our time signature. I'm sure you're really comfortable with this by this point, as we've reviewed it in every song so far. But remember, the top number means how many beats are in a measure, and the bottom number tells us what type of note gets a beat. A 4 means a quarter note, so there needs to be at least 4 quarter notes in every measure, or something equal to that. Okay, like this measure, we have a half note and 2 walk notes or quarter notes, so that equals 4 beats. Or maybe look at measure 4, just a whole note, and that equals 4 beats all in itself, so it's also a measure. And what makes a measure? These 2 lines right here make a measure, and those are called bar lines. All right, and the last symbol I see in this song that we should review is right here. Our symbol, this one is called a fermata, and it means to hold the notes longer than their duration, which just is a fancy word for saying longer than the length of time they're worth. So the whole notes are worth 4 beats, and we're going to hold it longer than 4 beats. A good rule to practice fermatas, is just to hold the notes until the sound completely goes away. And just to review as well, these notes are stacked up on top of each other at the end. It's a D and a G, and we're actually going to play those at the same time, like this, at the end of the song. So we're playing D and G at the same time, holding them until the sound goes away. Okay, very good. Let's look at the notes and rhythms in our first measure. So we have a half note and 2 walk notes to start, followed by 2 half notes. And then we have a half note and 2 walk notes again. So sort of the same rhythms, is actually the same notes as well, F, D, F. And then in between in measures 2 and 4, we have G down to D, and then a G for 4 at the end of this measure. Okay. Well, I'm going to try that nice and slow so you can hear, and then we'll do it again and you can play along with me. Here, 1, 2, here I go. F for 2, D, F, G for 2, D for 2, F for 2, D, F, G, 2, 3, 4, and off. Okay, now I'm going to slow it down a little bit, and let's try it even slower. Just do that first line together. 1, 2, here we go. Play F for 2, D, F, G for 2, and D for 2. Measure 3. F for 2, D, F, G, 2, 3, 4, and off. Very nice. And in this song, we're jumping back and forth between F and D a bunch, right before those two fingers, and that is finger 2 here and finger 4. So you might want to practice just going back and forth like this so it feels comfy as we play those notes together. All right, moving on to line number 2. We have our same pattern, F for 2, D, F, but let's look at measure 6 here. We have 4 walk notes, walk, 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 or 4 quarter notes, and we play G, F, D, C. So we're playing G, F, and then you skip over the note E here and play D, C. G, F, D, C. This measure is pretty good for your finger number practice as well. You can just play the notes going down. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going. You can go really slow because you want to make sure you're making good contact with your fingers on these notes. And then measure 7, we play D for 2, F for 2, and then a G for 4. All right, so I'll try line 2 on my own nice and slow, and then we'll do it together. Here we go. 1, 2, here I go, and F for 2, D, F, G, F, D, C, D for 2, F for 2, G, 2, 3, 4, and off. Great work. Moving on to line 3, we get D, F, F, D, F, and we hold that for 4. And the second time it repeats that, D, F, F, D, C, and we hold that for 4 as well. All right, so let's try going back and forth between these measures. Remember, the big difference here, the whole notes change from F to C, but that D, F, F pattern is repeated. All right, starting at the beginning of line number 3. 1, 2, here we go. Play D, F, F, D, F, 2, 3, 4, D, F, F, D, C, 2, 3, last line, D, F, F, D, G. Moving to the last line. Sorry about that. I was eager to get through this song, I guess, but I was just playing line 3 there. Sorry for skipping ahead. Okay, let's hop on down to line number 4. So line number 4 in measure 13, we get the same thing we saw in measure 9, the D, F, F. But let's look at our notes here. A G half note, and then we play F, D. So again, see how often we're going from D to F or F to D in this song? There's a lot of spots where that is happening. So G for 2, F, D, and then we play a D for 2, C for 2, and then D and G together. All right, here we go. Let's get ready to play the last line nice and slow. 1, 2, here we go. Play D, F, F, D, G for 2, F, D, D for 2, C for 2, and then D and G together. And we're holding that for 4, but really just until the sound goes away because of our fermata. All right, great work on going through each line of Indian Campfires. Let's do our first full performance of the song nice and slow together. Hands ready in our 5-finger pattern. 1, 2. Here we go. Play F for 2, D, F, G for 2, D. Measure 3. F for 2, D, F, G, 2, 3, 4, line 2, F for 2, D, F, G, F, D, C, D for 2, F for 2, G, 2, 3, line 3, D, F, F, D, F, 2, 3, 4, measure 11 and 12, D, F, F, D, C, 2. Last line, play. D, F, F, D, G, F, D, D, 2, C for 2, and then D and G together. We're holding that until the sound goes away. Great job on completing the song Indian Campfires, and I'll see you on the next song.